investment. So the pension funds began to buy them because of the fantastic returns. But in doing so, they gave Milken even more power to pull apart the very thing that had created them, the corporation.
The law didn't specifically say support the raiders. What the law said was that the pension fund fiduciary had to act in the exclusive, is the word in the law, the exclusive interest of the participants and beneficiaries of the fund, not in the interest of the company that set up the pension fund.
Milken getting access to pension fund money was the single breakthrough event that took him from a powerful, fast-rising force to the dominant force in the takeover boom of the 80s. That was the key, because he had really tapped a $600 billion plus source of funds that no one else in that deals business had managed to tap.
And when you got hold of that?
Well, there was nothing that could stop it.
We in Europe have watched with admiration the burgeoning of this mighty American economy. There is a new mood in the United States. A visitor feels it at once. The resurgence of your self-confidence and your national pride is almost tangible. Now the sun is rising in the West. Many of the policies you are following are the policies we are following. You have brought inflation down, so have we. You have declared war on regulations and controls, so have we. Members of Congress, that is what capitalism is. A system which brings wealth to the many and not just to the few.
The takeover boom had by now spread to Britain. The large companies that had dominated British life since the war were being attacked and torn apart by a small group of raiders. They were led by another member of the Clermont set, James Hanson. He was a close friend of Goldsmith's, and like him was a true believer in the power of the free market.
The market is it. Absolutely. It's the greatest thing in the world, that free market. I love it. I love the idea of being a... That's what the argument I used to use when people objected. How dare you come and offer me to buy my business, they would say. And I said, but look in the paper, you're for sale. It says there that your shares are valued at £1 each. Doesn't that mean that I can buy them or sell them? Well, that's an argument you can't refute. So that's what the market's all about. I love it.
As in America, hundreds of factories were being closed and thousands sacked in order to maximise the return to those who had backed the raiders.
The sacking, or the downsizing, I think the Americans call it, of companies means that the bottom line nearly always improves. Profits nearly always improve because you get rid of one of the more expensive overhead items, which is wages.
And your share price goes up.
And your share price goes up. And you make money, institutions make money, the banks make money. The only people who don't make money are the employees who've been put out of work. But it was the hardest bit. I mean, the redundancies, you're putting people out of work, I mean, knowing that in 3 months' time they'd be out of a job. That was tough, but it had to be done. Now, the corporate raiders didn't take that view at all. They took the view that if you put people out of work, you increased your profits. And they were right.
And caught up in this reconstruction of Britain were yet again the mild-mannered men who ran the pension funds. They could not refuse the raiders' offer of vast increases in their investments.
When you'd seen someone like Hanson make a string of takeover bids and apparently squeeze out quite useful profits, and he then comes along with another takeover bid, and you see that you've got a potential 25 or 30% gain on that, and the management that's in place has been presiding over declining profits for the last 10 years, suddenly tells you that it's going to start performing well. It's a little bit difficult to believe them and to turn down that financial gain.
The way it was done was not attractive, because individuals managed to get themselves pretty wealthy in the process.
But did that matter to you?
No, as again, the test was the bottom line on the value of the funds, and that had to be the test, and the asset won. If somebody got rich as a result, it's not for us to make the moral judgment. Personally, I didn't find that at all attractive.
But that didn't matter. Your duty was what?
Our duty was to the members. Absolutely, all the way through, our duty was to the members.
We were there managing investments on behalf of our schemes. We were not there to re-engineer Britain. That was not the job we'd been asked to do.
But you were being used as an agent to re-engineer Britain?
In part, yes. But that's totally out with our control. What we were doing was simply managing our investments. But in the best way that we could, as we'd been trained to do.
By now, the man who had started the takeover boom, Michael Milken, had become one of the most powerful men in America. In 1985, he hosted the annual high-yield bond conference in Los Angeles. But everyone called it the Predator's Ball. All the raiders came there to pay homage to the man who was using them to change the shape of America and making them billionaires in the process.
We had 60 people in 1980. And a lot of the people in the room were Drexel people. That's how small it was. In 1985, 5 years later, we had 3,000 people. And hundreds of companies presenting and hundreds of companies coming. So there were 3,000 people moving there from 85 through 89 when it all ended. So that was a snowball effect. And it reached the point where if you were any entrepreneurial guy in the world, you had to be there. Because you knew we had the ability to finance whatever you were looking at. So it just snowballed. It was standing room only. It was the toughest ticket to get in the world.
At the end of the conference, all the guests were treated to a video designed by Milken. It showed his vision of the new America that was being created by the destruction of the old corporations.
Perception and reality, to accept change, to resist change. High-yield bonds.
And as it ended, Michael Milken received the final blessing.
And out walks Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra walks over to Michael Milken and he says, "Hey," he says, "aren't you that junk bond guy?" Michael says, "Yes, I am." He says, "Here, make sure I got plenty of junk bonds." Walks further on the stage, the curtain opens, his 22-piece stage band, Frank Sinatra turns around, he looks out and he says, "Start spreading the news." I was 15 feet tall. Nothing bigger was ever going to happen in the world. It was amazing. We had come from nowhere and we had Frank Sinatra and his stage band and he's saying, "Start spreading the news." Come on, get out of here, right?
But people are upset by vulgarity. And vulgarity is to some degree a sign of vigor. It means that new people, coming from nowhere, are making it. It's the old American dream. Anybody can become a millionaire. So if we want change, if we want vigor, we're going to have vulgarity. It's one of the things which irritates, but which is necessary.
Milken destroyed a world that was run by privilege, by old school ties, by professional politicians, and turned it into a free-for-all where the marketplace decides day by day, even minute by minute, who will